head, slowing down and taking no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those in the windshield wipers snapping out the tempo, playing perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and happy early 4th of July. It's the 3rd of July, but welcome to the podcast. You know, this is I probably wasn't going to do one the day before the holiday, but this just kind of all worked out perfect. That we talk about New Jersey and before the birthday of our country, and as Kim always says, who's my guest today, you know, you've had a right to hang out a shingle, or however she puts it, since the first day that the country was alive. So, and then here we go talking about taking it away. So luckily I am joined to have this conversation by Kim Kavin. You guys are familiar. Kim, thank you. I think this is like your 10th time, maybe more on the podcast.
Do I get a ring or a robe? Like, what happens?
I don't know. I got to figure that out. I don't I mean, there's people who help me on the round tables and other things that have been on like 50 times, but like, as far as guests, you're like one of the only ones who hit the double digits. So yeah, you got to get something. I don't know.
I feel proud. This is really fun. Thank you for having me on to talk about what's happening in New Jersey, because it's important and it matters to everybody nationwide. So it's good that we talk about it.
100%. And it looks like it's live on TikTok too. It looks like 2 or 3 people are watching, so that's a good thing. Thank you everybody for being in the chat. Thank you, John Lopez. Hey, Lynn, Christopher Taylor. Thank you for those. Bubba Sue, Josh, and everybody else that'll be joining in. And if not, watching on the replay, because we'll be leaving this up, and then I'll be cutting it into shorter pieces too. So no, in one respect or another, even if you missed this live, you're gonna see it. So again, welcome to Kim. We always have a good conversation when Kim is here, so this is going to be awesome. Although the topic isn't so awesome, and I guess we'll go right into it, is that even from what you sent me, the first 3 paragraphs that you sent me in that document just kind of was like, I mean, here's my assessment. This was super sketchy.
This is super awful. To the point that attorneys are literally writing and saying this will be worse than what happened in California with AB5 if this goes through, what they're trying to do. So let's explain very basic to people. If is that cool? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Please.
I know this audience knows this story well. For people who are new to this, what's been happening the past half dozen years is you got this band of merry lunatics going around the country trying to figure out how to change regulatory language in a way that makes it difficult, if not impossible, to be an independent contractor. They bounce from state to state. They go to Washington, D.C. They bounce from the Congress into federal agencies with regulatory rulemaking. They come back with legislation. They're moving. It's like a good old fashioned road show, as they used to say back in the day of the stagecoaches, right? And they roll into town, they try to get something into law, and then they look at how they can figure out how to tighten it up and make it even worse. And so what's happening in New Jersey is in 2019, the state's legislature put forward a bill where they tried to copy California's AB5. And there was so much public outrage that bill failed. It went down. And I'm proud to say I was one of the people yelling loudest about it on television and at the public hearing. So what's happening now is they're back and they're trying to come in through the state's labor department and just impose a rule and say, from now on, we're interpreting the existing law to mean something that the attorneys are saying is even worse than AB5, because that's what they can do and they're trying to do, and we're trying to stop them. So does that make sense to get everybody up to speed?
Yeah.
But the way they're doing it, super sketchy, right? So
yeah. I mean, and also these people should be whether you're the freelance world or whatever, but from the gig app perspective, you should be aware, because they're also aware of what has happened in Washington State and Seattle, specifically with Pay Up, and New York City, and then in Minnesota, what's going on. And they're just all copies of Prop 22. So a lot of people know it from that end, Prop 22, which is,
you get the concept. They move around,
which is the solution Well, it's the horrible duct tape solution to the problem. The real problem being AB5.
Yeah, it's like locusts moving from place to place and descending on us, and then we got to fight them.
But they keep having an eye for New Jersey.
Well, here's what's happening in New Jersey politically. November is coming, and our governor is term limited. So he's out no matter what happens in the election in November. So this is through his Department of Labor. So nobody can say to him, well, we'll vote you out if you do this. He's out anyway. So talk about perfect timing where you have no consequences for your actions. And the way they're doing it, like the last time they came at us with legislation, we all filled the State House hearing room. There was media all over the place. It was in every newspaper, every TV radio station. You know, it was clear to the world that there was a problem. This time, they held the hearing in a heat wave, a 10-minute walk away from where all the reporters are at the State House. They held it in the New Jersey Division of Taxation building. I didn't even know where that was. We had to go find it. It didn't have any public parking. There was nobody there to even watch. And we figured out in advance, they weren't even going to live stream the public hearing, so-called public hearing.
I wanted to pause you at that. I wanted to pause you at that point and say, how did you know that? Because I mean, like most of our things are publicly broadcast here that are, I mean, these days, like most public hearings you can find.
As they should be, because
they should be 100%
for the public, right?
Yeah.
What happened was some people asked me if they could call in and testify remote via video. And we started looking around and I realized, wait a minute, I don't even think they have a way to live stream. I don't think it's going to happen. And that made me panic because we need the video from those hearings and audio in order to show the world what these people are trying to do to all the independent contractors. So I reached out to some friends. Listeners of your show know I've been testifying before Congress a couple times on this. I've done many things on this. I've made a lot of friends in high places, and one of our friends graciously from the Save Independent Work campaign sent a pro video person and sound person. He came up from Washington for our public hearing in New Jersey. We got the full hearing video. Steve's got clips we're going to play today. They very graciously are letting us use it so we can show people what happened. But this is the only place you can actually see these clips because we're the only ones who have it because we made the effort to make sure the public knows what's going on, which is ridiculous and outrageous and should never be allowed. But here we are.
So before moving into that, what was the look on there? I mean, my guess is they knew specifically there would not only, hey, is there going to be anybody here live streaming or video? My guess is literally they knew. Make sure there isn't a team here. We're going to switch buildings. This is why I said it sounds sketchy. The whole thing.
It was actually very funny because I got up super early and drove down to Trenton. I was the first one in the room. They opened the door at 8:30. I was in the front row saving all the seats for me and my friends at 8:30 and 30 seconds. Our video guy came in a few minutes after that. We set up in the prime location.
That's why I was wondering where this shot is from. I'm like going, oh man, they had to just hate this.
We got the money position. And then the New Jersey Labor Department people came in a little, I guess they come to work at 9 probably, right? They came in after that and they looked at me because I'm one of the only people there. And they said, do you know whose camera this is? I said, yes, it's ours. And we have permission to be there. And I said it in my old mean lady voice. And they just went, oh, okay, ma'am. And they moved their gear off to the side. So they did have a camera there, but it was not live streaming. So if you want to get that video, you'd probably have to file an open records request that they could sit on for a while and make you miserable. We don't have to do any of that. We have the video for everybody today. We have all the highlights. We're not going to make you all sit through what became a 3-hour plus public hearing of wall-to-wall people testifying in opposition yet again. But we do have all the good stuff for you today.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing you mentioned too is that it is a 3. I know you had said that this was scheduled to be a 2-hour public hearing. Yes, but it went through the whole piece goes 3 hours, and
it was a little more than 3 hours. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you were mentioning how that this piece getting out there, and I think everybody can relate to this and watching this wouldn't be good because they just manipulate it these days.
It makes me nervous, but we have it. It's ours to control, and we're not going to manipulate anything. We're just going to show you what happens.
No, that's the point. That way, if they drop something and it's like super well edited. You can go like, what? Well, wait, here's the raw version.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what
And,
you
and I,
drop.
and I can tell you by my count, I was keeping track. I did get up and leave to go to the bathroom at one point because, I'm 53 and a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. But I don't think I missed anybody. I might be off by one, but I counted 38 for our side, 14 for the other side, and almost everybody for the other side was either from a union, with a union affiliated think tank, with a union affiliated law firm. It was exactly what everybody thinks it was, and we have it all on film to prove it.
Yeah. So Kim's 53. I'm 53 recently, and a good friend of the channel here, Christopher Taylor, is 53 today. Welcome to 53, my friend.
Happy birthday. Welcome to getting up and going, wait, did I injure myself sleeping? What just happened?
But okay, so this, as far as I'm concerned, we've now explained that the whole thing was set up kind of sketchy. I don't even know if people went to where it should have been. Was there like a sign up? Was there, hey?
No, they announced that this is where it would be, but they did it in the most basic way possible with a press release that you had to figure out existed. Like there was no effort to actually educate the public of what is going on here. They did the bare minimum they have to do by law to say they went through the motions of holding a public hearing and getting feedback. And they gave us each just 4 minutes to talk. So you had to make your case against this whole mess in 4 minutes or less.
So does that building house other hearings often?
I have no idea. I'd never been there before.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't even know where it was.
I'm just kind of curious. It just doesn't seem, I don't live there, and I've never been there at all, but it just all doesn't, I don't know. It just doesn't.
What bothered me about it was I knew that for the press to get there, it was a 10-minute walk from the State House in the middle of a heat wave. And our state budget negotiations were going on. And that was the big news story. And they had to be at the State House covering it. Call me paranoid. It felt to me like somebody looked at a calendar a few months ago and said, this would be the perfect time to do this in an out of the way place. And maybe we can limit the public damage. That was my guess.
And you guys, we're going to go, like she said, we're going to go through some video clips. Understand that you're going to hear you're going to hear some powerful video testimonials, but one of them is the Flex Association, which is all of the people who fought AB5. One of them is the spokesperson for Instacart, and one of them from Lyft. So today you're going to see some more than just when we say it affects gig apps. You're going to see the gig apps here. We all know they wouldn't be there if it didn't mean something.
They were all there. They were coming up one after the next, and not just them. You're going to see people from the Port of New York and New Jersey. There was people from the Retail Association, insurance, all kinds of people there. Yep.
The truckers, the insurance agents, all the, and I guess maybe we'll hit on it as we go, but it makes me also wonder about the carve out situation. But I think we should also start by saying that everybody, at least as far as Kim and I were concerned, because I asked her before we started, everybody can still leave comments. A few weeks ago, we had Kim on, and she had said that tomorrow, the 4th of July, even though it's a holiday, was the last day to comment. She corrected that and said it's now August.
What happened was they extended it. They got so much angry feedback about it that the state extended the public comment period. So you can now issue a public comment until August 6th in opposition to this rule. And you can do it real easy. We can give you the email address if you want it to send it, but the Save Independent Work people have created an easy place to do it and it's in the details right below the details of the show. It's called saveindependentwork.org/New Jersey. And there's a form there. You just fill it out. You send it in and say, hey, stop what you're doing. Leave the independent contractors alone.
Oh, I even have the specific link, I think. The one that says campaigns.civicclick.
Yeah, I think they all go to the same place. It's easy to remember.
Everything's down here too, floating you guys now at the bottom too.
Yeah, that's there it is right there. Save Independent Work. It's actually, I think, /NJ, not /New Jersey, I think is the correct URL there. Yeah.
I'll fix that then. But so should we move to how do you want to go testimonial by testimonial? And then
to me, I think the most important thing to get across, maybe we start with Vince Ryan, who is the vice president of the American Council of Life Insurers.
Right.
He was there representing more than 200 companies in that industry. And
Right.
what he talked about was the thing I think is it's one of the most important things for people to understand, is that what they're trying to do in New Jersey, numerous lawyers have written this and said this, it hasn't been done before. So what they're trying to do is adapt this ABC test in even more constricting ways than what happened in California. And I think you're going to play a clip from him where he talks a little bit about that.
Yes. So
adopting this novel and highly selective interpretation of the ABC test would make New Jersey the first state to do so, an outlier, putting it at odds with its neighboring states and creating unnecessary disruption for producers licensed across state lines. No other state in the country has implemented a law or regulation like this.
okay. So
That should scare the hell out of everybody, right? I
Right.
mean, what he's saying is they're trying to find yet another way to screw the independent contractors even worse than we've seen everywhere else. That's my translation of what I heard him say there. Did you hear the same thing I heard?
I heard the same thing. And again, we're not going to play. I mean, Kim was even saying how many union people were like on the other side being very over the top. We're not even going to play those because that's not even worth hearing. I mean, that's them putting the nail in the coffin, so to say, like of just why they would like to see you be done.
Yeah. And this is why it matters to the whole country, right? What we saw happen in California, they took that language out of California AB5 and they immediately popped it into the federal PRO Act, a bill in Congress. They immediately tried to spread it all across the country into other states. That's what they do. So if they get something novel and unprecedented with this ABC test through in New Jersey, that's what they're going to do with it. They're going to try to get it done here and then spread it like a cancer everywhere else. And that's why it's so important that we stop this.
Yeah. So I'm looking at his quote right now too. So he says no other state in the country does this. But he's talking about the ABC test. Aren't we still somewhat saying that California does that too?
So what the lawyers have written about this, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not qualified to talk like a lawyer, but I am qualified to read what lawyers have said. And I heard what the lawyers said at the public hearing. They're trying to do things like in California, what California did with Part B of the ABC test was they just chopped it in half. They edited half of it out that New Jersey has, California doesn't have. So it says, basically, if you're in the same line of business, you can't be an independent contractor. New Jersey says, if you're same line of business, you can't be an independent contractor, or if you're not in the same location, if you're not in the same spot. What the lawyers have written about this interpretation that the New Jersey Labor Department is trying to do is it basically makes that second part of B prong irrelevant. So they're trying to find a way to put through California's AB5 without the legislature actually passing a bill is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get legal language adopted in a way that you don't even have to go through the process of passing a bill. You can just say, oh, this is how we think about that now. This is right out of George Orwell. This is Orwellian doublespeak. This is crazy town. They're also trying to do it in numerous ways different from California, but one of those ways is California ultimately exempted or partially exempted more than 100 different professions. And I know you've had Karen Anderson on from Freelancers Against AB5 to explain why those exemptions remain problematic to this day. But the New Jersey plan does not have any exemptions, zero. So
which is crazy to me because the lawyers right now, that was my comment last time too. The lawyers are just going to go, we're all suing you tomorrow.
We're all suing you tomorrow. I can tell you, I'm in the behind the scenes meetings. They're fighting over who gets to file the lawsuits first. It's just so horrific what this is going to be. And the state's own proposal says it will not create any jobs. So they're telling us they're going to threaten everybody's incomes and careers as independent contractors without creating any new jobs for us to go to. That is their actual plan as stated in their actual proposed rule. It's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, so okay, the other, maybe I have this a little, okay, so Robert Jackson, he's with the Flex Association, correct?
I believe he is Director of Outreach and External Affairs, he said his title was, for
Okay,
the
right,
Flex Association.
which
Yeah.
is Uber, Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash. This is all of them. This is the same people that raised this. The Flex Association raised $208 million to fight AB5 with Proposition 22 in California. That's what it represents. And I just want to, we're going to play a little second of his too. This is, again, guys, these are people who were here at this, what was this, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
Standing room only public hearing. Yeah, it was a week ago.
The department's proposed rule is out of step with the 21st century independent work and would stymie innovation in the state's economy. It exceeds other states' worker classification policies and threatens app-based platforms' ability to provide maximum value to New Jersey's workers, consumers, and merchants. The unprecedented approach under Prong B would make New Jersey the only state to base employment status solely on whether someone transports food or passengers. If adopted, the rule would make New Jersey inhospitable to businesses and strip individuals of the freedom to work for themselves, reducing income for workers and local business partners and driving up prices and wait times for consumers. We strongly urge you to reconsider the rule. Thank you.
I hear him saying they're going to shut down in New Jersey. What do you hear him saying?
I hear him saying the same thing, and that's where some of these people might get on the point of, well, that's what they said in California. In California, they said you're exactly right. They said they'd leave because of AB5, and then they had till January 31st. And on January 31st is when they said, no, we're closing shop. Don't worry about it. And they said, no, wait, we'll let you have your proposition on the ballot. Again, Uber and some others left Austin, Texas, and there was a very slight hiccup in Miami, both short-lived, but they have never left any city. So for those thinking that, well, that's just what they need to do. No. This is, I mean, the whole plan of all, no matter, a whole different discussion is what we earn on the apps. That's not what it is today. It's about your right to be able to work on them at your flexibility and how, whatever your reason for wanting to might be. And the challenge for it to be gone. These companies, when they started, even Uber ahead of the others in 2009, when it was launched, Travis Kalanick's thing was that, hey, I mean, they look at all options. And well, what if it was W2? Oh, if it ever is W2, we just close it. It doesn't work. This only works as this. So they're not kidding. They're not just gonna, I mean, sometimes they'll take a hiccup and stay somewhere and it might not make sense to all of us, but they're not going to stay in an entire state where they have to employ you guys. They're not going to do a franchise model. They're not going to do any of that.
Well, yeah, there was actually a guy there from the International Franchise Association who testified and said this would make it appear that all of the franchise owners were employees. Like he was there saying, forget it. That's not going to be an option with this either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody needs to think about how far down the line it goes. Like if you're like, well, but if I did, there is no angle. Trust me, you can ask Karen Anderson or all the people in California. There's no angle to this, like how you'll get around it. I remember some people saying, just start an S Corp. That didn't do anything for you. Kim and I know people who were S Corps that it did nothing for them. And they were S Corps when it happened. They didn't do it as a workaround. They were already had been.
No, their motive is clear. I see John Lopez in the chat saying they are being blunt about their objectives. He's right. He's 100% correct.
Yeah. I mean, and again,
and the fact that so many people came, I mean, it costs a lot of money to send these people, these lobbyist people into Trenton to do this. And there was a ton of, I think we have more clips, don't we, from more of them who testified?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, this next one with Tom McNeil from Instacart I mean, I'm not a big fan of Instacart for a lot of reasons, but that's a personal difference that we deal with on another day. His testimony is pretty solid. Like,
go ahead.
Yeah. Let's
It's not
put
just
that up.
us. It's a national survey found that 80% of app-based workers prefer to remain independent contractors because of the flexibility and autonomy it provides. Most of them work fewer than 10 hours a week, and for the majority, income from shopping makes up less than a quarter of their total earnings. They choose this work because it fits into their lives, not just the other way around. Traditional employment simply doesn't offer the same level of adaptability. This proposed rule change would upend that flexibility by imposing outdated employment models that don't reflect how or why people engage with the platforms like ours. More than 41,000 Instacart shoppers in New Jersey, this could mean fewer opportunities to earn and less control over their time and more red tape. But it's not just the shoppers who would feel the impact. Our customers, including seniors, people with disabilities, low-income families, and those living in food deserts, rely on Instacart to access fresh groceries in a convenient and affordable way. If shoppers lose flexibility, we may see fewer active shoppers and longer wait times, ultimately limiting access for those who need it the most, at a time when rising costs are already squeezing household budgets. It's also important to remember that this is not a new conversation. In 2019, the legislature considered a similar proposal, and after hearing directly from stakeholders and the public, chose not to move forward. That decision acknowledges that how serious a mistake it would be to upend this critical source of earnings for New Jersey workers. What's especially troubling today is that this new rule goes even further than the 2019 proposal, yet it's being pushed not through a legislative debate, but through an administrative process that sidesteps the transparency, discussion, and accountability that an issue of this magnitude and complexity deserves. At Instacart, we believe the laws and regulations should reflect the way people actually work today. They should protect flexibility, expand opportunity, and respect the choice of workers to make. Respect the choices workers make to support themselves and their families. This rule change would move us backwards, not forwards. We urge the committee to reject it and stand with the thousands of New Jersey workers who choose independent work, not because they have to, but because it works for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask you one follow-up question. The word flexibility appeared multiple times in your testimony. I've heard that from other folks. What exactly about this proposal do you feel would limit folks' flexibility in terms of their working hours?
Yep, no, it's a great question. So we feel that with this proposed rule change, it would make it almost impossible to have independent contract. It would make it almost impossible to be independent contractors on our platform. And if we were to move to an employment model, there's no employment model in the world that offers the minute-by-minute flexibility that we have today. So I can kind of explain that, maybe give an example. So if I were a shopper on the platform, I have the ability to absolutely control my schedule. I could turn it on right now and accept a batch, and I would be working. I don't have to ask permission that for, let's say in the next hour I can't work. I don't have to ask any permission. I don't have to ask for another employee to swap times with me. You're just able to choose when and where and how you work. If you see an order that comes through that you might not want, you can simply not accept it and not get any kind of punishment or any kind of retaliation for it.
I know some people out there want to debate a few things he said, but the overall statement of it is true.
You could see me in the background there. I'm wearing the green jacket, like applauding, and yeah, right on, brother. In general,
I mean, it's rare. You guys never hear me side up with Instacart. Again, he's not the CEO or that guy. You know, he's the guy that's to put out some fires, and he's mentioning all the things that most of you that I know need, and if without it, the app is worthless to you. So, I mean, the flexibility alone, and for him to detail that a little bit. And I know Kim was happy that he was asked a follow-up question. So
they did not ask follow-up questions of everybody, and I thought he handled himself real well. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of Instacart like you do, and I fully trust you have your reasons for having issues. But his overall message was, what I heard him saying, it's going to be almost impossible for this business model to work. And he's not just talking about Instacart. He's talking about everybody.
And that's, I mean, he's
specifically
I was surprised they asked him the follow-up, to be honest.
I don't know
how dare you? I mean, that's, even though we totally disagree about flexibility, that guy and I in a room alone, what it truly means, I mean, they just asked any of you guys would have been the wrong question. Like, what's this flexibility you're talking about? Really?
I don't know how they chose who they were going to ask. They didn't ask me a follow-up. I was so ready, man. Let's go. But I didn't get asked. It's so many people said this will make it impossible or virtually impossible, or one lawyer wrote it will almost entirely eviscerate any chance of being an independent contractor. There's so many people who have said what he is saying. And it's not just for the app people. They're saying it's specific to industries, but they're all saying the same thing. It'll hit everybody this way.
Right. And we still have the trucking industry to go. We still have Kim's final, is the
Well,
final.
don't we have, did we
Yeah,
pull
we have
one from
Lyft.
Lyft?
Yeah, we
she
have
was there
Megan from
too.
Lyft right here. And so you rideshare people, even other app people.
Good morning. My name is Megan Sir-Jane Samples, and I serve as Lyft's Director of Public Policy. We appreciate the opportunity to comment on this proposal, which has profound implications for app-based platforms and the thousands of independent drivers who partner with them. I'm here to share Lyft's opposition to this proposed interpretation of the ABC test that reveals a deep misunderstanding of how and why drivers work with platforms like ours. The proposal substantively changes the ABC test, interpreting each prong in unprecedented ways, and imposes rigid presumptions that ignore long-established case law, New Jersey's Transportation Network Company Act, and industry nuance. Critically, the proposal disregards the desires of workers to maintain independence. 93% of drivers in New Jersey support a model where drivers remain independent contractors while receiving new benefits. This Independence Plus benefits model was codified for TNC drivers in Washington State in 2022 via historic compromise with labor unions led by Democratic legislators. Our goal is to seek a similar legislative solution here in New Jersey. The department's proposal wholly disregards the realities of workers in New Jersey. Drivers oppose becoming employees because the vast majority of them are looking for flexible income opportunities that traditional employment simply cannot provide. Nearly all of them drive because of the independent contractor status and not despite it. Drivers are parents, students, retirees, caregivers, and small business owners. 92% of New Jersey drivers on the platform have another job or are a student. For them, driving is a convenient way to earn extra money on nights, weekends, or whenever works best for them. They play an absolutely essential role in our economy and in our communities. We urge you to listen to the overwhelming majority of drivers who want to remain independent contractors. Additionally, it's worth noting that proposed rules conflict with the TNC Act statutory framework, which was enacted by the legislature to govern rideshare services and recognizes the independent status of TNC drivers. Instead, the proposed rules selectively codify portions of generalized case law while pointedly listing TNC drivers as an example of workers who cannot meet prong B. This effectively prejudges all rideshare drivers as employees as a whole in direct contravention of the TNC Act. With the TNC Act, the legislature struck a careful balance to protect TNC riders and drivers while maintaining the independent contractor model that underlies the rideshare industry. DOL.
I mean, she's got it down because, and again, what is her role again? She is with Lyft. She is the director of public policy at Lyft.
I don't know about you. I could hear her lawyers writing the lawsuit as she was talking.
Oh yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Just her flow too. It was just it was passive, but strong. Like she was just like, I'm here. I know exactly what I'm doing.
What are you idiots doing? You people
You're
need
wrong.
to stop. Yeah.
I mean, and you guys, I mean, like, listen, like, again, here they are at this, at this meeting in a weird building. They don't show up for nothing. They don't want it. I know this from speaking with them here many times. They don't like going public with these things. They don't like to be on a camera having to explain this stuff. Even if though anybody like us might get behind it, they still don't like it. But I think Kim, something in there registered with me, and Kim can probably attest to this. Here's part of the problem that we've talked about many times. The reason that she's in that room is because a lot of times 20 people are writing their lawmakers, their congressmen, whatever, and they're saying, I am sick of these apps. They're not transparent. I want to be an employee. They're not wording it right. And so therefore the lawmaker thinks this is what everybody must want because these are the letters coming in. None of us, and again, I already know 95% of people don't want that. They want the flexibility of an independent contractorship. So again, when all you hear from is 20 and there's 10,000 of us on the other side, I know it gets, you're just going through it and thinking, okay, it'll get fixed. It won't really, nothing will ever bad really happen from this. But Kim, I think being in New Jersey can attest that this is very real.
It's incredibly real. And it's why we're encouraging everybody to send public comments through saveindependentwork.org/New Jersey. It's why I show up everywhere. I was back in Trenton again just a couple days ago, taping a segment for our statewide television about that. You're going to start seeing me in radio ads and TV ads and things all around the state. You got to show up and fight. If you don't show up, I'm telling you, the other side shows up. The other side, we're bigger, but they're better connected. So what we have is numbers. And if we don't display our might through our numbers, exactly what you just said, Steve, is what happens, is the other side wins with this horrible stuff that nobody actually wants.
Exactly. And I think that they always try, and that goes back to why I think it was in that building. Everybody's trying to keep it out of your face like it's not real, but it is real.
Bad news for them is here we are, and we're not going to let that happen. I personally am not going to let that happen.
And I know that the next person I'm going to play, Lisa, is somebody that Kim really likes. I like Lisa's passion. I was watching this video earlier when I was cutting it up for today.
Well, let's explain to people. So as many people as we just played you a few of the people who were there from the app-based places. There was more. But equally impressive were a couple other industries. And one of them was people associated with the Port of New York and New Jersey. Now, the Port of New York and New Jersey is the largest container port on the East Coast, and it's the third largest in the country. So you're talking about
Uh-oh, Kim might have froze. Hey, Kim, you might have to exit the live and then come back in. I think you froze. Yeah, okay. John said so too. So just exit live, come back in. I'll pop you back in there. Yeah, she still froze backstage too. Kim, if you're hearing me, just exit the browser and then come back in through the link. There, she just exited. So also, you guys, we do have this transparency New Jersey TNC Act. I'm going to post that here right now while we're waiting for Kim, because those of you who do rideshare, this is something that maybe you'll want to look into. And since we have all these links, let's get them out there. Where is it? Okay. That timing was just too weird, was it not? Come on. Okay, so guys, if you do TNC, here's a little link for you. So you should be familiar with that. That's the New Jersey's TNC Act. You should know that. And but yeah, like Kim was saying, there's other people there. I think that all of us in the app-based gig economy know that I don't want to side with Instacart right now at all, but I gotta say, like, what Instacart and what Lyft were saying there, they're saying exactly the same. We're just coming at it from different directions, but they need to stay transparent or else the apps have to shut down. It does not work any other way. They've told it. I think that too many people have believed, like, well, just because they say that doesn't mean it. It does. They won't do it. And they won't, because the whole model was built on not having employees. So I will start this next piece and hope that Kim comes in the backstage while I'm doing this. This is Lisa about the trucking industry. We'll be back on the other side of this one. Hopefully Kim will be here.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my testimony today.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Yackerman, and I represent the motor carriers who move freight through the Port of New York and New Jersey, the busiest port on the East Coast, a distinction that's now in jeopardy due to these proposed new rules. Why? Because up to 77% of our driver workforce is comprised of self-employed owner-operators, which means regulations like these that eliminate independent contractors would spell disaster for our port. I strongly oppose this proposal, and I urge you to rescind it. Proceeding down this overly aggressive regulatory path will paralyze our regional supply chain. Your proposed rules claim to protect against misclassification, but instead, they forcibly misclassify legitimately self-employed individuals against their will, causing irreparable harm. The rules reflect policies that are based heavily on a deeply flawed 2019 Misclassification Task Force report that was revealed to contain outdated and misinterpreted research data. This calls your agency's entire policy framework into question and warrants further investigation before any new rules or laws are proposed or enacted. The proposal is unreasonable and dangerous, especially the assertion that merely expecting a worker to comply with any law indicates an employer-employee relationship. Expecting someone to be a law-abiding citizen isn't control, it's common sense. The rules center on an archaic ABC classification test that's been proven to eliminate jobs, and they lack clarity, allowing an unlimited number of unspecified factors to determine employee status, making it impossible for anyone to navigate the labyrinth of subjectivity created by these rules. This proposal would cripple our trucking capacity at the port, resulting in major supply chain disruptions. In a recent survey, New Jersey motor carriers reported that their owner-operator drivers would rather relocate or leave the industry altogether than give up the autonomy they enjoy from being self-employed. Companies that lease with them cannot absorb the cost of purchasing their trucks, even if they were willing to become company drivers. Motor carriers also said that they rarely find an owner-operator who is willing to transition to an employee. To be clear, truck drivers can be employees if that's what they choose. Some companies operate exclusively with full-time employee drivers. Others work mostly with owner-operators, but the vast majority work with both. If approved, these rules will impede the delivery of popular consumer goods like electronics, cars, clothing, coffee, wine and spirits, and furniture. But that's not the worst of it. Slashing our driver workforce to a mere fraction of what it is now will slow the transport of perishable foods to the point of spoilage, and there will be shortages of critical life-saving supplies and essential components sourced from overseas, such as the active ingredients for over 90% of the generic medications sold in the U.S., ingredients essential for manufacturing antibiotics, chemotherapy drugs, penicillin, blood pressure meds, and antidepressants for treating mental illness, personal protective equipment, surgical instruments, and diagnostic machines used in hospitals and doctors' offices, gluten-free products for those with food-reactive allergies, packaging for infant formula, personal care products, and thousands of other goods. Our ability to move exports will also suffer, hurting New Jersey-based businesses who support our state's economy with jobs and tax revenues, driving them away to more business-friendly states. The consequences would be a gut punch to consumers. Prices for everything will increase, crushing residents who are already crying out for relief from New Jersey's high cost of living, soaring property taxes, and skyrocketing utility and insurance rates. Please listen to the independent contractors who overwhelmingly oppose these new rules in favor of common sense, modern-day labor policy. Federal efforts are already underway to achieve that with the Modern Worker Empowerment Act, whose framework New Jersey would do well to emulate. I welcome the opportunity to assist you in crafting policies that preserve worker choice and protect our fragile supply chain while ensuring the health, safety, and economic well-being of all New Jerseyans. Thank you.
I mean, her and then Eric between them, I mean, they're telling you, I don't even know how you guys stay the third biggest port like this. You won't.
We won't. She told, and I apologize, everybody. We're having a thunderstorm here, and that's why I crashed out there for a second. The power went out. But what they said was this will cripple not only the port, but the regional supply chain, the statewide economy. You're talking massive disruption, and the ships will go elsewhere. It will devastate one of the biggest economic drivers of the entire region if they do this.
Which then even affects the port workers who are
affects
union.
everybody.
But they're
it
union.
affects literally everybody, including people trying to buy stuff on a store shelf that's not going to be there, because who's going to move it with no truckers to move it? This is crazy town. This is crazy town. I don't know if I'm guessing you played it. She said 77% of the drivers at the port are owner operators. 77%. Imagine wiping out almost 80% of the drivers who move stuff. It would cripple.
And so Bubba Sue's in your market too, and she said this would cripple the state. Just in case Kim looks like she might be frozen, but just in case, I'm gonna go into that next clip, and then we have just the Kim clip left. But you guys should stick around. Put all your questions if you have them. I know that the Twitter people are watching too. I see a lot of people over on Twitter, and Kim
I'm back again.
Good morning, Eric DeGesero, Edge Consulting on behalf of the New Jersey Motor Truck Association. The trucking industry is essential to the nation's economy, and owner-operators, our industry's term for independent contractors, are essential to the trucking industry and avatars of the American dream, entrepreneurs. They pay for their own vehicles, maintenance, tolls, fuel, registration, regulatory compliance, and insurance. They prize their independence, which is why they do not pursue a career as an employee driver. Years ago, before New Jersey's War on Entrepreneurs began, one trucking company had 40 company drivers and 20 owner-operators, would have hired every single owner-operator as an employee driver, but they preferred pursuing the American dream to being an employee. The relationship between an owner-operator and trucking company passes the A prong or control of the ABC test because they're free to work or not work, a fundamental finding in trauma nurses. As entrepreneurs can work for as many or few as they wish and are responsible for their own expenses. The Department of Labor may very well state that the owner-operator is operating under the authority of the trucking company and therefore the trucking company is exercising control. This opinion is contrary to federal law which states, quote, nothing in the provisions of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation is intended to affect whether the lessor or driver provided by the lessor is an independent contractor or an employee of the authorized carrier lessee. The relationship between an entrepreneur, owner-operator, and trucking company passes the B prong, the regular course of business, since none of the activities take place at the putative employer's place of business. DOL proposes that a truck is where the company's business occurs. That's simply wrong. The business place of the trucking industry are the highways, thoroughfares, and turnpikes of America. This is directly analogous to the fax and carpet remnants, where the place of business was the physical location, the warehouse, not the location where the carpet installation occurred. Owner-operators are conducting their business in their truck on our nation's roads. The relationship between an independent contractor and trucking company might pass the C prong, the independently established trade. Just as in trauma nurses, commercial truck drivers must, quote, fulfill licensure requirements in order to practice their profession. Unlike nurses, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for a vehicle or vehicles in addition to all their expenses. The pertinent paragraph in trauma nurses regarding the C prong in the trucking industry is the last sentence that says, quote, instead, most work simultaneously for other brokers, hospitals, and healthcare institutions. Would the independent nature of the owner-operator survive without existence of the trucking company they're hauling for? Maybe, maybe not. The decision in trauma nurses found that some nurses did not work simultaneously for other brokers, hospitals, or healthcare institutions. This is both a decision and a risk that the entrepreneur takes. Only in New Jersey is it considered positive when bureaucrats thwart entrepreneurs. The trucking industry is the linchpin of the supply chain. The supply chain needs temporary flexibility to operate. That's the great value entrepreneur owner-operators bring and what they covet. Ironically, the highways, thoroughfares, and turnpikes of New Jersey would not be plowed if not for the state exempting itself for temporary services like snow removal. The next time you're driving when the road crews are staging on the side of the highway before a snowstorm, be cognizant of how many snowplows are NJDOT snowplows and how many are your local excavating company independent contractor entrepreneurs. In addition to bureaucrats thwarting entrepreneurs being seen as positive only in New Jersey, so too apparently is hypocrisy.
I love that guy. I love his look.
Yeah, I do too.
I love his tone. I love his message. And I'm confident at this point that the state of New Jersey is controlling the weather and trying to shut me up because it's gone out.
I thought the same thing because the first time you froze was right at a cliffhanger moment too. I was like, man, somebody's like hacked into her internet and turned her off. Like,
no, it's just really dark out and there's a lot of lightning. But I see people in the chat saying, you know, what does this have to do with gig workers? They must have missed the beginning of the show. We played a bunch of clips about the gig. We're now talking about how all kinds of industries were there doing this. And what's terrifying about what they're talking about at the port. Now you're talking about, they're testifying about shortages of medical supplies, shortages of food. It's unbelievable what this testimony was in the state of New Jersey.
right.
And nobody could see until we got our hands on this video with our friends from END Independent Work.
So what do you say to this comment? Yes, the person does need to go back and play catch up. They are in New Jersey, but they better not pull this nonsense on gig workers in New Jersey. What do you say, Kim, to that?
Welcome to the party, pal. We're all in this together, and you better send some public comments and raise your voices, because they are doing it to us. They're doing it right now. And we have until August 6th to send public comments and try to get them to stop. And you can do that at the place on your screen, saveindependentwork.org/New Jersey.
Yep, it's in the show notes below, guys, and I have it pinned in the YouTube comments. I can't do anything on the Twitter side, X, but there are 11 people watching on X. So I don't know if I'm not seeing your comments or whatnot, guys, but if there's somebody on X who could throw a comment in there, I'd like to know if we're seeing them here. I'm still playing out with this. This is still new to me. Been a while since I've done that. So, but yeah, so if, I guess, looking back at this, I mean, if you go back in this piece alone to the gig worker to the gig app worker who was asking, you're going to see people from Instacart and Lyft, but there were others there. There were Flex Association people there, and you're going to hear it all through this. But I think that now we need to play Kim's final clip and then kind of summarize this and see if you guys have any questions, throw them out there now. Because as normal, save the best for last, and Kim always knows how to shut down the house. So
I did my best.
My name is Kim Kavin. I'm a freelance writer and editor who co-founded the nonpartisan grassroots coalition Fight for Freelancers. Thank you for the chance to explain why this independent contractor proposal must be rescinded. This proposal and the task force report you're using to justify it stem from deeply misguided thinking that's doing irreparable harm in California. The damage out there the past 5 years led Congress to reject this thinking during the Biden and Trump administrations alike. What's happening in California is exactly what independent contractors warned when we testified against this kind of policy here in Trenton 6 years ago. New Jersey's legislators listened to us then, and you should listen to us now. In the years since California tried this kind of thing, Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff said it's truly horrific how many people are negatively impacted by it. The Trump administration's deputy U.S. Labor Secretary called it catastrophic. Members of the California Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights found it disproportionately and negatively affects women, immigrants, people of color, and the politically powerless. A California lawmaker, yet again this month, called on the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate. And yet, here we are, back in Trenton. Even though in California, the pace of job creation tanked by 81% after this policy took effect. Union membership went down. Self-employment for affected professions took a 10.5% hit. Overall employment dropped too. Not only is this a job killer, but your own proposal says it won't create any jobs. You're threatening to wipe out our incomes and careers, and you're admitting you'll create no new jobs for us. And you're doing it based on snake oil data. Your proposal cites the 2019 report of Governor Murphy's task force on misclassification, which is so easily debunked, it's a joke. I'll give you two examples. The 2019 Murphy report claims that misclassification rose 40% in the previous 10 years. In fact, the cited research and its underlying research say that independent contracting in general rose 40%. And it wasn't between 2009 and 2019. It was between 2005 and 2015. That's the Great Recession. People freelanced because they lost their jobs, a reality the Murphy report erased while trying to make us all believe something else. The Murphy report also claims the state lost tax revenue based on a 25-year-old, and I quote, U.S. Department of Labor study of misclassification in construction in New Jersey. Sounds impressive, except it doesn't seem to exist. An actual federal study from back then is 196 pages with only 2 pages about New Jersey's construction industry. And unbelievably, the sources on those pages are some unnamed guy from the AFL-CIO, the head of a trade association who says a company not paying what they're supposed to pay has an unfair advantage, duh, and a 1999 Star Ledger article that says New Jersey stopped that misclassification by using regulatory language that we've always said is reasonable, but you don't want to use. At this point, the intentional harm is inexcusable.
Rescind this proposal before you hurt anybody else, and stop these relentless, remorseless attacks on our freedom to earn a living once and for all.
Duh.
I feel that's my personal best moment out of all the testimony I've ever given in Congress. And I did something similar, tearing apart some federal reports in Congress about 2 months ago. But when you start digging into these reports, which I got to tell you, they're going to make your head spin. It's exhausting, but it's garbage. It's a lot of garbage in these so-called official taxpayer-funded reports. The New Jersey report, we can't even figure out who actually wrote it. Nobody signed their name to it. We can't even find a public record of who was on the task force. That's how shady this is.
I wouldn't have signed my name to it either.
It's
I would have been like,
absolutely
this is
outrageous.
awful. I'm just going to put it over
Those
here
two
and run.
examples I broke down, they're from page 1 of the report. I didn't even get past page 1 tearing that garbage apart. It's incredible. It's outrageous.
gosh.
It's outrageous what's going on. It cannot be allowed. This is horrifying.
So this is something I face a challenge with all the time. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here is getting people to take any bit of action. This is the easiest action ever to do the comments. And I know they'll have to sort through what were bots and they do all this, that, and the other, but the legitimate ones that would come from you guys matter. I mean, I don't know, Kim, you want to put a power on that punch? Because that's all we needed to do.
Listen,
that's all you need to do.
I got my ass up at 6 o'clock in the morning in a heat wave, schlepped an hour and a half down to Trenton to yell at these people and get all this video and go through it all, a 30,000 word transcript to play these clips for all of you. What I would like in exchange for that is for you to go to saveindependentwork.org/New Jersey and send a quick comment. There's a form to fill out. It'll take you 3 minutes. That's all we need you to do. This matters to everybody. If they get this through in New Jersey, they're gonna spread it everywhere else next. We need everybody in the fight. Just like I go to Congress and fight for everybody, we need your help here where I live to help fight for us here too.
And in my summary, it's California AB5 wasn't a big enough loser. They shoved steroids into it and said, let's just see what kind of monster we can throw at New Jersey. So it's this out of control monster that's like, you think we did damage in California? Watch this.
That's exactly right. I think you should put that in your public comment. That's your public comment right there. It's perfect. It's perfect.
But Kim, first of all, thank you to, I want to thank personally the Save Independent Work crew for letting us use this footage that is not public. Now it is, these pieces anyway. But do you have any last words here? Because appreciate everybody for joining too. And you guys, if nothing else, just take away from what you were hearing these people say and the passion from their stories.
Yeah, here's my final thing. This is what I need everybody to understand. They're attacking our fundamental freedom to earn a living, and it's inexcusable. This shouldn't be allowed in New Jersey or anywhere else. If we don't stop it here, they're just going to keep coming with this everywhere, and they're going to make it worse next time too. It's like a bad game of Jenga until they tear the whole thing down. We are heading into the 4th of July weekend as we tape this. We are a nation built on the idea of liberty and the pursuit of happiness. We are all about different strokes for different folks and try and achieve the American dream in whatever pathway works best for us at any given time in our lives. They are trying to shut this pathway of self-employment down, and we all have to fight like hell to keep it open.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I know, again, I think some final words. What are your final words to the Save Independent Work for whom which we wouldn't even have the video?
I am incredibly grateful to them. We would not have any of this video, and there's more to come. If you're readers, you can subscribe to my Substack, freelancebusting.com. We're going to make some more points based on some of the video that you didn't see today. There's a whole lot more that happened at this hearing, but I think you get the gist, which is this is madness. There's a lot of people fighting very hard here on behalf of us all, and we need you to raise your voices and help us from all across the country.
So with that, I'll put up this comment from John Lopez. I saw Karen Anderson was the one who snuck in from the from Twitter. Thank you, Karen, for saying hi.
Oh, good. I love Karen Anderson.
Yeah, she was. When I said somebody on X Make Comics, there's a bunch of people watching over there. I'm like, and then
We
Karen,
mentioned you earlier, Karen. You, if you were
and then
not listening.
here she is. Now she's on YouTube too. She's double streaming for us. So,
Karen, as much as you see me fighting my ass off, oh fuck. Did I go off again? No, I just cursed on the air. Sorry, I thought.
Oh, don't worry. Actually, speaking of Karen, when she's on, she curses a lot.
I didn't mean to. I was yelling at the sky in the thunderstorm. Karen has been fighting her butt off in California for even longer than I've been fighting my butt off in New Jersey. And there's so many people fighting so hard for this. All we're asking you to do is log on, saveindependentwork.org/New Jersey, and just add your voice to ours. We're doing all the heavy lifting. We're asking you to just bring up the rear with a quick public comment. That's it. That's all we need from you.
And it's in
Can we
there, and it's in
bleep that
there.
out? We can't. We were live. Huh? I feel bad. I said that on the air. That was. I was very annoyed at this guy.
But also, again, that the deadline's till August 6th.
Yeah, they extended it to August 6th. And again, sorry if you're all listening, your delicate ears there. It's enough with the thunderstorms.
They've all heard worse.
Yeah,
they've
all
all
good.
heard worse.
All good.
But Kim, thank you so much for joining. And again, everybody have a awesome 4th of July. I hope nobody works tomorrow. I mean, I know some of us have to or whatever, but take a day off, enjoy something, let your brain have a day off even, and then get back to the fight. And there is a fight to be had. I'm having it here all the time. I'm talking with Kim. I mean, constantly we're talking, all of us, about all these issues. I need a day off from it too. I'm taking a day off tomorrow. So it's the celebration of the country's birthday, and it's a country of freedom and where you come to have the American dream. And this is literally a push to end the American dream and say, screw you. Do what we say instead. And as far as I know, that's pretty much half of the other countries in the world already. I don't live there for a reason. So I don't want that here. And so therefore, you guys do something. The one thing you can do right now is saveindependentwork.org/NJ. Just go there right now and fill out a comment. And that would be awesome. And thank you guys. And we'll see you back here next time.
Steve, for everything you do to raise the issue. You're awesome, man. Thank you.
So are you. See you guys.
She was just a baby.